The beginning was pure bliss. Sarah and I, inseparable, a future planned, full of dreams, a perfect engagement ring on her finger, our wedding date, chosen. It felt like destiny, a love story for the ages. Everyone admired us, our bond, our laughter, a deep connection. I truly believed in it. Then something shifted slowly, imperceptibly. At first, a quiet hum beneath the surface, a feeling of being understood less, a growing silence between us. Not hostile, just empty. Our conversations grew shorter. Our evenings became routines, not adventures. I started spending more time at work, a convenient excuse. I told myself it was for our future, for our home, for stability. But deep down, I knew it was also an escape from the growing distance, from the unspoken expectations, from the pressure of living up to a perfect image. I felt suffocated by the unspoken rules of our perfect life. The quiet resentment started to fester, a tiny seed of discontent that I allowed to grow unchecked instead of addressing the issues. With Sarah, instead of talking about my feelings, my doubts, my fears, I retreated into myself. I built walls around my heart, pretending everything was fine, hoping the problems would simply disappear. A classic mistake, a monumental failure on my part. I met Emily at the office. She was new, vibrant, funny, full of life. A stark contrast to the quiet evenings I had grown accustomed to with Sarah. She exuded a warmth, a spontaneity that drew me in like a moth to a flame. We started talking. Innocent at first, just work-related chats, then coffees, then lunch breaks. Soon we were sharing stories about our lives, our dreams, our disappointments. Emily listened intently. She laughed at my jokes. She saw me, or so it felt like she saw a part of me that Sarah no longer seemed to notice. Or perhaps I had stopped showing Sarah that part of myself. The line blurred so easily, so deceptively. I told myself it was just friendship, a harmless connection, a way to feel alive again, a temporary distraction from the looming wedding stress and the quiet unease in my heart. I rationalized my actions. I told myself I deserved a little happiness, a little attention, a little spark. After all, Sarah and I were just going through a rough patch. Everyone does, right? This was just a harmless flirtation, a way to cope with the pressure, a temporary deviation from the path. I convinced myself that I was still a good person, that my intentions were not malicious, that I would never truly hurt Sarah. My mind became a master of self-deception, weaving intricate narratives to justify my increasingly reckless behavior. I ignored the growing voice of conscience, the tiny whispers of guilt that tried to break through my carefully constructed facade. Then one evening, after a late project, we stayed behind. Everyone else had left. The office was silent, except for the soft glow of our computer screens. We talked for hours about everything and nothing, the air thick with unspoken words, a tension that was both exhilarating and terrifying. She touched my hand, just a fleeting touch, but it ignited something within me, something I had long thought dormant or dead. The next thing I knew, we were kissing. It was impulsive, reckless, intoxicating, a betrayal that tasted sweet and bitter all at once. The first kiss was a precipice, a point of no return, a dive into unknown waters. I knew in that instant that I had crossed a line, that I had broken a fundamental promise. But the immediate thrill overshadowed the profound wrongness of it all. I went home that night to Sarah, sleeping peacefully beside me, her hand resting on my pillow. A familiar comfort, now tainted by my secret. A crushing weight of guilt pressed down on me. I lay awake for hours, staring at the ceiling, the images of Emily, her lips, her touch replaying in my mind, a cycle of desire and disgust. This was not who I was, not who I wanted to be, but I could not stop the affair. Continued a clandestine dance of stolen moments, secret texts, hushed phone calls, a double life. I became an expert at deception, at weaving intricate lies, at compartmentalizing my emotions. My heart was a battlefield torn between the comfort of Sarah's love and the thrill of Emily's attention. The constant fear of discovery became a silent companion, a shadow that followed me everywhere I went. Every text I sent, every late night I spent away from home was tinged with anxiety, a knot in my stomach that tightened with each passing day. I walked a tightrope of lies, always on edge, always looking over my shoulder, always inventing new excuses for my whereabouts, for my mood, for my increasing emotional distance from Sarah. The thrill of the affair slowly began to erode under the relentless pressure of my deceit. It was no longer about happiness, it was about survival, about maintaining the delicate balance of my two separate lives. I knew it was wrong. Every fiber of my being screamed for me to stop, to confess, to choose. But I felt trapped in a web of my own making. I told myself it would end soon, that I would find a way to break free, to fix everything, to go back to being the man Sarah deserved. But each day the lies grew bigger. The distance between Sarah and me widened. The guilt became a constant companion, a shadow clinging to my every step. I saw the sadness in Sarah's eyes, sometimes a flicker of doubt, a question she never asked aloud, but I could feel it. I could sense her growing suspicion, her quiet pain, and I hated myself for it, for causing her such sorrow, for destroying the trust we had built over years of shared life. The pretense became exhausting. The smiles I offered Sarah felt fake. The affection I showed her felt hollow. I was a hollow shell of a man, living a hollow life, a prisoner of my own making. The day it all fell apart was inevitable. A house of cards destined to collapse. A text message from Emily popped up on my phone while Sarah was sitting next to me. A simple, innocuous message. But Sarah saw it. She saw Emily's name. She saw the emoji. A small heart I had forgotten to delete. She looked at me, her eyes wide with hurt, with recognition, with a devastation that ripped through my very soul. She didn't need to ask. I didn't need to explain. My silence was confession enough. The world around us shattered into a million pieces. The air was thick with unspoken words, with accusations that hung heavy between us. She started to cry, a deep, guttural sob that tore through me like a physical blow. I wanted to reach for her, to hold her, to beg for forgiveness. But I was paralyzed by my own cowardice, by the magnitude of my betrayal. Her tears were my undoing, her pain a mirror reflecting my own monstrosity. She whispered my name, a question, a plea, a statement of disbelief, and then she walked away. She packed a bag that night, her movements slow, deliberate, each item a memory, a shared dream carefully placed into a suitcase. I stood there watching, powerless, voiceless, a bystander to the destruction I had wrought. She looked at me one last time, before leaving, her eyes devoid of anger, only profound sadness and a weary acceptance. I never saw her again. Not truly. Not in the way we had been together, our life, our future, our love dissolved into nothingness, a casualty of my selfishness. Emily and I, we tried to make it work for a while after Sarah left. But the foundation was built on deceit, on stolen moments, on broken promises. The thrill faded, replaced by a gnawing emptiness, a constant reminder of the pain we had caused. Our relationship was haunted by Sarah's ghost, by the specter of what I had lost and what I had become. We drifted apart as quickly as we had come together. The passion that had once seemed so vibrant now felt hollow and meaningless. There was no true intimacy, no real trust, just a lingering sense of unease and a shared burden of guilt. The relationship was doomed from the start, a fragile construct built on the ruins of another love. It was a desperate attempt to fill the void, but it only deepened the emptiness. I was left alone, truly alone, with nothing but my regrets and the shattered fragments of my former life. The silence in my apartment was deafening, a stark contrast to the joyful noise of our past, to the laughter we once shared. I spent countless nights staring at the empty space beside me in bed, reliving every moment, every mistake, every choice that led me down that dark path. I hated myself for what I had done, for the pain I inflicted, for the beautiful future I had carelessly thrown away. The guilt was a constant companion, a heavy cloak that I could never shed. I deserved it. I thought I deserved every agonizing moment of self-loathing I learned. Hard lessons about trust, about honesty, about the sacredness of a promise. I learned that fleeting pleasure can never outweigh the cost of integrity. I learned that love once broken is incredibly difficult to mend and sometimes impossible. It became clear to me that my actions were not just a mistake, but a profound character flaw, a deep-rooted selfishness that I had allowed to fester unchecked. I carry the weight of my actions every single day, a constant reminder of the person I once was and the person I strive to be now. I often wonder about Sarah, about whether she found happiness, about whether she ever forgave me. I hope she did find peace. I hope she found someone who truly deserves her, someone who understands the true meaning of commitment and fidelity. I know I don't deserve her forgiveness. Not yet, maybe never. But I hope that one day I can forgive myself, not for the act itself, but for the blindness, for the weakness, for the inability to communicate my dissatisfaction before it spiraled into a catastrophic betrayal. The path to redemption is long and arduous, filled with self-reflection and a commitment to never repeat the same mistakes. I live my life differently now, with a heightened awareness of the fragility of relationships, of the importance of open communication, of the devastating consequences of deceit. I choose honesty even when it is difficult, especially when it is difficult. I strive to be a man of integrity, a man worthy of trust, a man who understands the profound responsibility that comes with loving another human being. I have spent years working on myself, seeking therapy, reading countless books on relationships and personal growth, trying to understand the root causes of my behavior, the insecurities, the fears, the unmet needs that I selfishly sought to fulfill outside of my primary relationship. It was a journey of painful self-discovery, confronting the darkest parts of myself, acknowledging my capacity for harm, and committing to a path of genuine change. The scar remains a permanent mark on my soul, a reminder of the lesson I had to learn the hardest way possible. The echoes of her tears still resonate in my quiet moments, a somber symphony of what was lost, what was destroyed, what could have been, and what can never be again. But through the pain there is growth, there is understanding, there is a resolve to build a better future. Not one based on lies or fleeting desires, but on truth, on respect, on unwavering loyalty. A future where I can finally look myself in the mirror and see not just the man who failed, but the man who learned, who changed, who strives every single day to be better than he was before, to be worthy of the love he hopes to one day find again. Not a replacement for what was lost, but a new beginning built on a foundation of hard-won wisdom and profound self-awareness. I understand now that true love requires courage, courage to be vulnerable, courage to communicate, courage to face challenges head-on, and courage to choose fidelity every single day. It is not a destination, but a continuous journey, a constant choice. I hope that by sharing my story, my confession, my painful lessons, I can somehow prevent someone else from making the same devastating mistakes, from inflicting the same irreversible hurt. It is a cautionary tale, a testament to the destructive power of deceit and the enduring strength of the human spirit, to seek redemption and to rebuild a life based on integrity and genuine connection.